in the mist-shrouded valleys of central Japan. On a rain-soaked morning in October 1600, two colossal armies stood poised to clash across a narrow plain, a battleground that would determine the fate of an entire nation. This was not merely an ordinary battle born of decades of civil strife. It was the culmination of intricate schemes and relentless ambition. On one side was Tokugawa Ieyasu, a master strategist who had meticulously prepared his entire life for this defining moment. Opposing him was Ishida Mitsunari, leading a coalition of powerful lords intent on preserving the legacy of Japan's greatest unifier. What unfolded in those critical hours would not only end the era of continuous warfare, but also give rise to a dynasty that would dominate Japan for over 2.5 centuries. This is the story of the decisive conflict at Sekigahara, a gamble that ultimately unified Japan. The year 1598 marked the conclusion of an epoch. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a peasant who had astonishingly ascended to the role of Japan's supreme ruler, lay on his deathbed in his opulent castle at Osaka. For the first time in generations, the prospect of unified leadership appeared precariously close to slipping away. Hideyoshi had achieved the seemingly impossible feat of consolidating the warring provinces beneath his banner, employing a combination of military brilliance and political acumen. Yet, as his strength waned, he confronted a dilemma that had historically troubled rulers: the fate of his heir. The 6-year-old Hideyori, who was far too young to command the loyalty of seasoned generals with battle-hardened resolve, recognizing the fragile nature of his legacy, Hideyoshi established a council of 5 regents to govern in his young son's name. These 5 powerful daimyo were Teramoto, Muneharo Kalmuda, Yukita, Haidai, Uesugi, Kagekatsu, and Tokugawa Ieyasu were among the most formidable lords in Japan, each commanding vast armies and territories capable of sustaining years of warfare. The system was designed to prevent any one lord from monopolizing power. However, it thrived on a foundation of deep-rooted mistrust and latent ambition. Among these 5 regents, Tokugawa Ieyasu distinguished himself. While his colleagues settled into comfort, relishing their wealth and status, Ieyasu cultivated patience, quality forged through a lifetime of strategic contemplation and hardship. Having been held hostage by rival clans during his youth, he learned invaluable lessons about survival, negotiation, and the importance of biding one's time to strike at the opportune moment. These formative experiences shaped him into a leader who understood that true power emanated not from immediate satisfaction, but from careful preparation and impeccable timing. The death of Hideyoshi in September 1598 immediately disrupted the delicate balance of the regency. Within months, the fragile alliance began to disintegrate as old rivalries reawakened and new aspirations emerged. Ieyasu wasted no time in consolidating his influence, relocating to Fushimi Castle in Kyoto, and arranging strategic marriages between his clan and neighboring domains, as well as to his fellow regents and other daimyo. These actions appeared to be the beginning of a calculated move toward ultimate authority. The situation further deteriorated in 1599 with the passing of Maeda Toshi, who had served as a moderating force among the regents. With Toshi gone, there was no one left to mediate the competing factions effectively. The already strained regency system began to fracture, dividing into 2 hostile camps. On one side gathered those loyal to the Toyotomi legacy, alarmed by Ieyasu's increasing influence. Leading this faction was Ishida Mitsunari, whose background starkly contrasted that of Ieyasu. While Ieyasu was a seasoned warrior with decades of experience on the battlefield, Mitsunari was primarily an administrator, known for his mastery in logistics and financial management, and had earned Hideyoshi's favor due to his organizational skills and dedication to the tea ceremony. Mitsunari's loyalty to the Toyotomi cause was steadfast, yet his lack of military experience would soon prove a significant vulnerability. Mitsunari's supporters comprised 3 other regents. Mori Teramoto commanded vast territories in western Japan and nominally led the coalition that would be known as the Western Army. Yukita Haidai contributed his own forces and the legitimacy of being chosen by Hideyoshi as one of the regents. Uesugi Kagekatsu controlled lands in northern Japan, adding geographical diversity to the anti-Tokugawa alliance. Together, They formed a formidable coalition, but one held together more by a shared animosity toward Ieyasu than by genuine unity of purpose. The geographic divisions of these alliances were far from coincidental. Ieyasu's power base lay primarily in eastern Japan, where his domains enabled him to amass significant resources and cultivate a network of loyal vassals who had served the Tokugawa clan for generations. Those who supported Ieyasu believed their continued prosperity hinged upon his success, creating bonds of mutual interest that transcended mere feudal obligation. Conversely, the Western army drew upon established lords of western and southern Japan, many of whom had thrived under Hideyoshi's leadership. Their motivations were layered and often contradictory. Some genuinely sought to preserve the Toyotomi legacy for young Hideyori. Others aimed to curtail Ieyasu's burgeoning power. Some nursed personal grievances, while others aimed to protect their own domains from Tokugawa expansion. This complex web of motivations would become both a strength and a critical weakness. When the decisive moment arose, tensions escalated throughout late 1599 and early 1600. Both factions engaged in an intricate political dance. Secret negotiations unfolded, alliances were formed and dissolved, and spies ventured between the opposing sides with relative ease. Ieyasu demonstrated his talent for this covert war, utilizing a vast intelligence network to remain abreast of his adversaries. Plans while disseminating disinformation to incite confusion among their ranks, his agents tirelessly sought out potential defectors within the Western Army, enticing loyalty through rewards and exploiting existing grievances against Mitsunari's leadership. The breaking point arrived in the summer of 1600. As Ieyasu was occupied with a potential threat from the Wasugi clan in the north, this diversion presented Mitsunari with what seemed to be an opportune moment to launch a preemptive strike. The leaders of the Western Army rallied their allies, crafting a coordinated attack aimed at catching Ieyasu's forces divided and vulnerable. This strategic plan was sound in theory, but failed to account for Ieyasu's superior intelligence network and swift adaptability to shifting circumstances. Instead of being caught off guard, Ieyasu had anticipated the move. His network of spies had kept him well informed of the Western Army's preparations, allowing him to prepare countermeasures in advance. As the two armies advanced toward the small village of Sekigahara, where narrow mountain passes would compel them into an unavoidable confrontation, the stage was set for the greatest gamble in Japanese history. The forthcoming campaign would showcase Ieyasu's tactical brilliance and strategic cunning. While Mitsunari believed he had pinned his rival in the distant northern provinces, Ieyasu executed a clever ruse, diverting his forces in a maneuver that left his adversaries scrambling to respond. Rather than engaging in a drawn-out campaign against the Wasugi clan, Ieyasu rapidly resolved the northern threat through negotiation and intimidation. Turning his attention westward with astonishing speed, key to Ieyasu's strategy was his control over vital roadways that interconnected eastern and western Japan. The Tokeda and Nakasendo routes functioned as crucial arteries through which armies, supplies, and intelligence flowed across the archipelago. By seizing pivotal castles along these routes, Ieyasu effectively severed his enemy's lines of communication while securing his own supply chains for the impending confrontation. His first significant success was at Gifu Castle. It's a strategic fortress along the Nakasendo Road. The castle's fall reverberated through the ranks of the Western Army, shattering their belief that Ieyasu's forces were trapped in the north, and instead showcasing that they were advancing rapidly toward the heart of Japan. The psychological impact of this development was just as critical as the strategic advantage gained. Wavering daimyo began to question their allegiance, while Mitsunari faced a growing tide of competing pressures and contradictory information. Reports indicated that Ieyasu might target Soyama Castle, his own stronghold, raising the specter of losing both Kyoto and Osaka, the heart of political power, and failing to safeguard the young Hideyori. With every passing hour, the threat that Ieyasu would completely outmaneuver him increased. However, plunging into battle without adequate coordination could be equally disastrous. As evening fell on October 20th, rain began to fall, transforming the terrain into a treacherous quagmire that further complicated the already volatile situation. Soldiers from both armies braved the elements, struggling to keep their equipment dry while maintaining formation in the darkness. The weather mirrored the murky political landscape, where loyalties shifted like shadows, making the ultimate outcome impossible to predict. As dawn broke on October 21st, the two armies converged on Sekigahara. The location had not been chosen by chance. This narrow valley, flanked by hills, and bisected by the Nakasendo Road, was a natural bottleneck where the fate of Japan would be contested. Despite the Western Army's early arrival, they found themselves in a disadvantageous tactical position. Their forces scattered across multiple hills, complicating coordination and leaving them highly susceptible to Ieyasu's favored method of concentrated attack. The thick fog that engulfed the battlefield as light emerged appeared to hold its breath, signaling the weight of history about to unfold. More than 160,000 samurai stood at the ready, poised for what all knew would be the defining battle of their era. The Eastern Army, numbering approximately 80,000 men, lined themselves with tight, disciplined formations on the valley floor. Across the narrow plain, the Western Army's 80,000 warriors occupied the surrounding heights, their banners shrouded in mist. Among the commanders of the Western Army, doubts had festered for weeks. Many had reluctantly agreed to support Mitsunari, primarily motivated by fear of Ieyasu's dominance rather than genuine enthusiasm for their cause. Some harbored personal grievances against Mitsunari himself, perceiving him as an ambitious administrator lacking the military credentials to lead seasoned warriors into battle. These underlying tensions would prove critical as the morning unfolded. Ieyasu, positioned with his reserves behind the main battle line, surveyed the landscape with the calm confidence of a man who had spent years preparing for this moment. His intelligence network had furnished him with detailed insights into the Western Army's positions and, more importantly, the clandestine dealings that had transpired among several key commanders. The seeds of betrayal were already sown, requiring only the precise moment to blossom into decisive action. As the fog began to lift with the sun climbing higher, the full scale of the forces assembled at Sekigahara became visibly clear. Banners flapped in the morning breeze, displaying the emblems of numerous great clans whose ancestors had long clashed in combat. Today, long-standing alliances would be tested, and new bonds forged in the crucible of warfare. The historical saga of the warring states was on the brink of its ultimate devastating climax. When the first war cries rang out across the valley, they brought with them the weight of Japan's very future. This was more than a mere battle between rival factions. It was a collision between two fundamentally different visions of what Japan could become. On one side stood those who sought to preserve the intricate web of loyalties that had characterized the Sengoku period. On the other marched those who believed that only a unified command under unyielded authority could usher in lasting peace. For the blood-soaked islands, the initial moves of the battle would reveal not only Ieyasu's meticulous preparation for this moment, but also demonstrate his profound understanding of the deeper currents of human nature that would ultimately dictate victory or defeat. As the morning mist began to dissipate, revealing the full magnitude of forces collected at Sekigahara, the opening shots of battle pierced the air. It was Tsuneomasa, one of Ieyasu's most trusted retainers, who fired the first volley. Known throughout Japan for their fierce reputation, Naomasa's red-armored cavalry charged headlong into the fray, striking at the heart of Yukahidie's formation on the Western Army's front line without waiting for formal orders. This breach of military protocol was deliberate. Naomasa understood that, in a battle of such magnitude, seizing the initiative could be decisive. His unsanctioned attacks sent waves of confusion rippling through both armies as commanders scrambled to adjust their carefully crafted strategies to accommodate the unexpected eruption of violence. The thunder of hooves mixed with the clashing of steel as cavalry smashed into the western lines, their crimson banners slicing through the gray morning like splashes of blood across the battlefield. Gunfire erupted in the form of arquebus shots, crackling like snapping timber. As the Portuguese-influenced weaponry introduced to Japan years earlier recalibrated the landscape of warfare on the archipelago. Volleys of lead balls tore through the ranks of the advancing samurai, their armor providing little protection against the sheer devastation unleashed by gunpowder. Thus began the climactic battle that would forever alter the course of Japanese history, where strategy and valor would contend with ambition and treachery on a scale never before witnessed on the islands. The outcome at Sekigahara would not only shape the future of Japan, but would echo through the ages as a dramatic chapter in the saga of a nation at war with itself. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to support our work and never miss an upload. Like this video, drop a comment, and share it with others to show your support and help us grow this historical community.